Well, hello, you beautiful people. I am Anthony White, the Orange Tie Guy, and you can probably see that I got something on today because it's actually kind of cold. It's weird because it's still, if you will, I guess the second week of September, but man, do we have a cold front. I'm actually doing this because a friend basically had said, cheesy man, hello back. So a friend had actually reached out and asked a question of me. And it's interesting because I kind of think about this when it comes to relationships. So here's the background story is ultimately in any kind of relationship, right? Whether it's a friendship, whether it's courting, whether it's dating, whether it's friendship, right? Even if you just don't know each other, you have these experiences where you have the opportunity to really just get to know one another. And that's really what it is. And oftentimes, maybe you learn one thing about them, like maybe they smoke. Instantly, nope, I ain't going to get to know you better. Maybe they like to, listen to gangster rap, and nope, not going to listen to you or want to get to know you. Who knows? Maybe they have a big old zit right in the middle of their forehead, and it's like, nope, not going to look at you or pay attention or want to get to know you. Whatever it is, right? There's some reason why you're attracted to them initially and they're attracted to you. And if you lose that attraction, guess what? No longer needed, no longer wanted. Well, it's interesting because as we actually develop relationships, as we build relationships, as we increase and grow in our lives, something transpires, change. And it's fascinating because I remember multiple times in my, I guess, dating days, younger age. Technically, I guess I'm still on my dating days or back in my dating days. Anyway, when I was younger, in my 20s or younger 20s, early 20s, I remember there was a beautiful girl. I was at Salt Lake Community College at the time, and she was kind of a cowgirl, and she was just confident, and she was just attractive, period. And she kind of was like, "Hey, you wanna come out to the ranch and spend some time with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to." Well, she had me once like ride bareback on a horse, and I'm thinking, okay, there's no saddle, there's nothing for me to hold on, there's no reins, and I was kind of freaking out. There's this massive beast that's easily 10 times my weight, and I'm thinking to myself, I could easily be killed on this thing. And I'm sure I was terrified and just like, needless to say, I spent a day with her, and she never really reached out again after that. So the question kind of came up to me is ultimately there's a scenario, and it happens often. This isn't unique, but the scenario is basically guy and girl kind of come across each other's path, right? Whether it's at work, whether it's at school, whether it's at church, whether it's through a friend, doesn't matter, right? I've met a lot of people through game nights, for example. And I'm going to use fictitious names because ultimately I'm trying to paint a picture for you. So I see Sarah at church. Sarah's gorgeous. And I think to myself, you know what? She's attractive. I'd love to get to know Sarah. And I don't really go out of my way to do much of anything to, get her attention or anything like that. But all of a sudden at a game night, right, at my buddy's house, all of a sudden Sarah's there. And I think to myself, oh, wow, here's Sarah, and maybe I can get to know her better. And I see she's a confident woman, she's attractive, and that's definitely an attraction. Just so you guys and girls know, is confidence is one of those achievements. And I actually focus a lot of my trainings and coachings about self-confidence, self-assurance. And it's not conceit and it's not pride. It's ultimately that you're confident in who you are. You are confident in you. Well, she's confident, but at the same time, she's on her phone, right? Let's just, fictitiously and she doesn't even look away at all. She's just on her phone, right? Texting. And she'll make comments here and there, but she's not in the moment. She's not there to either get to know me or anybody else. And she's just there. And she's on her phone. And it's like, that's not attractive, people, just so you know. If you're there to get to know people, right? If you're having a conversation, start a conversation. Do it to get to know someone. Well, let's say, for example, me and Sarah somehow get to know each other one-on-one, right? And she's saying, hey, you know what? This and this. And she starts to talk to me and starts to, build a relationship of sorts. Well, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Sarah gets a boyfriend. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't dating her. I wasn't, courting her, nothing like that. We're just friends, right? And granted, I have the intent and desire to get to know Sarah more. All of a sudden, she starts to, ultimately in this whole process, get a relationship. And she just drops off the map. That actually happened to me once, and it was fascinating because I was actually going through this process of getting to know someone. I thought she was beautiful, but I was still that codependent, shy kid, if you will. And it was through a friend, and she just kind of fell off the map. I was just like, what just happened? Ghosted, that stupid term I think is dumb and irrelevant to everything. All of a sudden, no communication. And I'm freaking out. Like, what's happening? Like, I thought we had something. This was fun and stuff like that. And I want to know what's going on. Why? Well, a question was reached out to me. So I've got a question for you. I would say that for the most part, with this whole Sarah situation, I've gotten over it, but there's still one thing that's bothersome from time to time. And that is why after she said she would help me out, she immediately cut me off from all communications and left me high and dry. What would you suggest as far as moving past that? So here's what I would say. So let's say, again, using the word Sarah or the name Sarah. So Sarah promises this relationship to me, okay? Or she's saying, hey, I'll help you out with X, Y, Z, right? Let's say it's a reference, right? A business or a job reference. Let's say it's, let's just leave it at that. And all of a sudden, you're trying to reach out to Sarah. I'm trying to reach out to Sarah and figure out, hey, what's going on here? Hey, what's going on? Just wanted to know if you're okay with doing that reference kind of a thing. And I've actually been there, right, where people have actually promised me jobs in the past. And they've said, hey, you know what? Just apply to this. It's bing, bang, bomb. You're good. Not a problem, right? Whether it's a speaking gig, whether it's a coaching referral, whether it's a job, right? Me going and getting employment with, ABC Incorporated, right? Whatever it is. There's this process when it comes to relationships that, again, when it boils down to it, it's a give and take, mutually beneficial. Again, it comes to the attraction idea or concept. What if all of a sudden I'm no longer attracted to Sarah? Like, why am I investing more time into Sarah when I'm not interested in what she has to offer or anything like that? Now, obviously, there's integrity, right? If you make a promise, a contract, there's that obligation of integrity. But let's move to a relationship standpoint. What if Sarah all of a sudden has a boyfriend? All of a sudden her time and energy is focused there, and maybe the initial interaction with me was because Sarah was interested in me being her boyfriend. All of a sudden she gets another boyfriend, and guess what? She ain't interested in me anymore. So she stops. She up and straight up stops communicating with me. Does that make her a bad person? Does that make me a bad person? No, not at all. But at the same time, it's that notion of trying to figure out in your head, okay, what's going on here? Like why is she not responding to me? Why is he not responding to me, right? Let's take the viewpoint of you ladies, right? Why is he not responding to me? And this is where I think ghosting is the stupidest. Oh my gosh, if I could punch a hole in the face of somebody, whoever created this dumb terminology. It's this notion and this idea, this recognition, if you will, of realizing and knowing for a fact that, hey, you've reached out, you've done what you can, leave it be. I think of this concept of offering, right? You have something to offer and you offer that to somebody else. And it's their choice to take it or not, right? It's like a proposal, right? We've seen these movies out there that kind of go through this process of, this guy doing a big old proposal, and then all of a sudden she's like, pass? And he's like, you humiliated me in front of other people, or I'm so humiliated. It's like so codependent and so stupid. It's like, stop being codependent. Stop saying, oh my goodness, well, because I did this such a big thing in front of you. Like Alice in Wonderland. Isn't that it? Or is it Through the Looking Glass? I think that's what it is. No, Alice in Wonderland. I think it's the first one. Anyway, right? She comes back and she's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to marry you. And he's like, what? Like, are you serious? You just denied my proposal, kind of a thing? And all these things, it's like, listen, you don't have to do certain things and be held obligated to certain things that are socially acceptable. Wrong. Like, if you're a woman or a man of integrity, obviously, clear as a bell, and let's say all of a sudden I become annoying, right? Let's say I'm harassing, and I don't know it. But I'm texting Sarah and I'm thinking, hey, Sarah, what's going on here? What's going on here? Like, why aren't you messaging me back? Whatever, right? I've been blacklisted, so to speak, in this whole concept of Sarah not, liking me or wanting to know more about me or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm just thinking, and it's going to drive me nuts. Like, what did I do? What's going on? Why is this happening to me? Like, and then all of a sudden we go to these negative emotions and thoughts and we start to look introspectively. And then we start to get upset with ourselves. And then we're like, well, I don't like being upset with myself, so someone else is to blame. It's you, Sarah. You're the problem, right? And so we start to blame other people because I don't like feeling guilty or feeling like these negative emotions. And we start to react often. And when we react often, it's because all of a sudden we don't know where to put this. We don't know where to put this anger, this doubt, this confusion, these negative emotions. And so it's either we soak them inside and let it decay inside, or we project it out and we, if anything, spew or vomit it on other people and say, you're the problem. Instead of owning it and saying, okay, I've got full control on myself, right? I totally know what I can do in my life. I know how to do it effectively in my life. So how do I deal with this? I send one final message, right? Yeah, let's send a final message and then ultimately leave it at that. Whether they respond or not, so be it. People go through this in divorce all the time. I experienced it myself personally, where I had no idea why my ex-wife pretty much just threw me aside. And I was so codependent. It's like, I'll change. I'll be anything and everything you want me to be. Even though I'm miserable and I hate my life, I love you and I want to stick to my covenant of marriage, that we'll be bonded together. And it's like I was willing to suffer literally through that. But I was in doubt and questioning and thinking, well, why does she not love me? What's going on? So we go through all these emotions. I hope this addresses what would you suggest as far as moving past that. Truth is, you have no control over it. It's out of your hands. Ultimately, it's their decision, not yours. So you can, again, offer something, on the altar of sacrifice, if you want to put it that way, right? You offer something and they can either take it, or you could come back 2 years later and you can see it decayed and rotten and sitting there still. Nobody's accepted it. Great. There was a follow-up to this in this process. So it's not like I'm holding on to this hoping we can get together again or anything, but it would be nice to figure out why there's such quick change in demeanor. So again, the theory is this quick change in demeanor could be that Sarah has a different perspective, a different priority, a different focus. I remember when I was so passionate about one thing, and I keep everything. I mean, you guys can see, in the back here, all my, whiteboards and stuff, but you can't see. In fact, if I was to maybe go full screen here, hopefully you can still hear me because last time I did full screen, I was muted. But you can see all of my stuff on this side too. You can see files back here, and that's a fraction of like stuff that I have. But I mean, I got information everywhere, right? So with this understanding, mind you, it is the fact that sometimes people just, in essence, get distracted. They ultimately don't know exactly. They're like, okay, this is my focus in time. This is my focus in time. This is my focus in time. I would hope that if I meet somebody, Tiffany, right, and I'm like falling for Tiffany, and Sarah keeps coming after me, it's like, give it up, Sarah. Like, I'm with Tiffany now. Like, I know you hope that I'll get back together with you, but get over it. Like, I try to be a nice guy, but that's where the codependence comes into play. They need resolve. They need to feel validated. They need to feel like they belong. And honestly, this is not new. This is not different from what other people do and what other people experience. The truth is that we all go through this process. So I've got this interesting piece here, and I want you to see it. So let's go here to my right monitor. Let's click on this and see this. Hopefully you can see that. And I think you do. Fingers crossed. I also don't think you see me anymore. So that's interesting. But as long as you can hear me. So this is interesting because this detailed is Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions. So we've got this inner one, which is pretty much like the interior of everything. Like ecstasy is, oh my goodness, like crazy, unbelievable, like, oh. But here's what's interesting. There's joy. There's serenity, right? Well, here's what's interesting. What about the difference between admiration and ecstasy, or joy and trust, or serenity and acceptance? There's love. Wow. Well, let's try and find confusion. Is confusion on here? How about contempt, right? Or, so contempt is between annoyance, anger, rage, loathing, disgust, and boredom. So we've got contempt, right? There's some people that are aggressive. You know, we've got those that are in awe, right? Oh, between amazement, which is surprise or distraction, and terror, fear, and apprehension. Awe, like, oh, how did he do that? The magician. Wow, that's crazy. So all in all, when it boils down to it, we can pinpoint any of these, and don't get me wrong, there's a whole lot more in there. But the whole point of what I'm getting at is, again, this change in demeanor. When it boils down to the change in demeanor, you can't really explain why their demeanor's changed. And that's okay. You don't need to. But then it's something that is put in there and written. I might tell something. Let's see here. If there's more questions to this perspective or any details. No. And I see another follower. Hello, Lando. My brother Stoll. So here's what's interesting. We have control and full control of ourselves until we are confident and we are self-sustaining and we are, I guess you could say, interdependent. Stable, really. There's something missing to be able to just accept and embrace other people's choices, to not reach out to you, to not accept your offering, to not respond, to have made a promise and saying, hey, I'll help you out with a job, or hey, I'll hook you up with a friend, or hey, I'll do this, or whatever promise they make, and then all of a sudden, no communication. It's gone. And so it may be confusing, distressing, and even frustrating. But at the same time, it's the recognition for you to be able to say, you know what? I've got full control over me. And okay, I accept it. I accept the fact that they don't want to be a part of me or my life, or they don't want to help me out, or however it is, they don't want it. So be it. So if I was to brush it up and put it in a whole, I would say this. Knowing some back context on this, I'm going to use myself as the instrument or the details of this question. So if I'm interested in Sarah and I show interest and I'm hitting on her and saying, hey, how's it going? You know, and she's like, well, hello, Anthony, the orange tie guy. How are you? And I'm like, I'm good. And all of a sudden there's some kind of disruption, right? Let's say it's in the workplace. Okay. And let's say we work with each other or near each other or something like that. And all of a sudden she feels uncomfortable. Sarah's like, no longer interested in the orange tie guy. And it's like, what's going on there? Why? I've done nothing wrong. I'm just basically, if anything, being nice, right? And I wouldn't say flirtatious. I would say, because I think flirting is such a stupid, stupid thing. And I'll go into that maybe another time if somebody requests it. But we're just, again, playing with each other, having nice, jovial, lighthearted, interesting conversations, and it's really playful. That's really what it is. And people that take flirtation seriously there's a problem, because our communication styles as of today are pretty much rubbish. Like, we just are terrible at communicating. But if this situation comes into play and all of a sudden she's like, yep, I don't want to be around you anymore, and I don't feel comfortable being around you anymore. Let's say I lose my job, right? All of a sudden I'm out of a job and I'm thinking, I haven't done anything. There's no harassment. There's no nothing there. What's going on? And in this scenario, it's like, hey, like, what's going on? And I don't blame her for anything, but all of a sudden it's just like, you know what? Thanks for your service, but it's no longer needed. Okay, that was weird, but whatever. But I want to be able to kind of maybe close that gap with Sarah, right? The question is, why? Why should I close the gap with Sarah? She's closed it. She's kind of made a distinct impression that she's not interested. And for me, unless I get it flat out like, I am not interested in you, go away, never connect with me again, then I'm obviously thinking, well, I need closure. Well, here's the problem. This is where social cues come into play, but guess what? Not everything should be on social cues. Clearly, we should take those messages, but maybe she just doesn't want to inform me. She just doesn't want to. So all of a sudden, when it comes down to it, she doesn't. So I'm feeling alone, lost, kind of by myself, and saying, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's happening here. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to resolve it. I'm trying to improve something, etc. And it's one of those things where it's just a project you've forgotten. Some people feel obsessed to fix and or solve everything that comes their way. I'm not one of them. I'll start a project, and then when I lose interest, guess what? See ya. I'm moving on. Now, when it's a passion like the orange tie guy, like celestial dating, like leadership development, like, well, anything when it comes to self-help, then obviously it's just who I am and what I love, and ultimately I'm going to stick with that. But when it comes to those things that are potentially fleeting, like, for example, if Sarah's moved on, has a boyfriend, a fiance, or is married, like, why do I need that closure? What's going on there? And if you want more details, definitely you can reach out to me in coaching. I think I left that little whiteboard there. People can reach out to me. Technically, I think it's on like Cash App and PayPal and Venmo. But anyway, but you can still reach out to me, honestly, in any social network, theorangetieguy.com. But simple and straight to the point for you, recognize and identify, why do I need this closure? Why? What's the point? What will it accomplish with me? And can I resolve it myself? And if you can't, like I said, I'm for hire, right? This is what I do. But it's that concept, or even just send me questions and I'll be able to address it on another video. But the details are more specific to us individually. This is why I have a profession, a job, a career in coaching, is because so many people are very unique in their situations, but it's basically the same common principles and laws, and just how we think, what we do and experience in the social life around us or lack thereof, what we are absorbing when it comes to the mediums around us. I constantly repeat this because I didn't think of it, but we are the average of the 5 most influential mediums around us. Think about it. Politics, It's the idea that, oh my goodness, if I'm for or against this, like groups or, whatever it is, yeah, I'm going to think a certain way. Well, guess what? If I constantly am being fed by that medium, welcome to that thought process. And you become or portray that. But again, in this notion, this mentality, and unless there's any other questions, I'll wrap this up. But when it comes down to it, we've got to be content with what's given us. We've got to find that resolution within us. And if you just can't or are having that difficulty, that's where I would say coaching is effective. That's the right way to do it. Because all in all, we will face so many problems in our lives that we have no control over. None. And so the question is how will we respond or move forward if we have no control over it? Think about all the people who were major, I would say, evil people out there. Stalin, Hitler, you can go through the galore of it. It's because they want to control over others. They wanted to control others. And it was like, I want to make you do, be, have, or the lack thereof. And it's them trying to control others. We can't do that. And manipulation is definitely not the way to do it. That's another form of, again, control or controlling someone else. You need to know that you are the vessel that you control. You have all of the means up here to be able to control everything in your life. And it's usually the way we see and think about things. There's a reason why I'm the orange tie guy, is because it's thought investment encouragement. I'm a thought investment encourager. And simple, straight and to the point, just figure it out. And if you need help, reach out, ask. I'm here, but I don't understand, or this is where I'm getting stuck. Great, ask. I read in the ancient text, ask and you shall receive. There you go. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Truth is that's very accurate, if not 100% accurate. So ask and you'll find. But for today, I'll leave it at that. I'm Anthony White, the Orange Tie Guy. I hope this was somewhat beneficial, but if nothing else, it's a beta test. And I'd love the feedback. And thanks, Cheesy Man and Landon, for both of you getting on here and giving me some good feedback, or at least making some comments. I'd love some more in the future, but while I'm doing this, it looks like my program's all working. And yeah, hope you have a beautiful, wonderful evening.